There are at least 9 Nigerian Americans in this election running at federal, state, and local levels. Oye Owolewa, who holds a Doctor of Philosophy in Pharmacy, is contested to represent the District of Columbia. Esther Agbaje is seeking to represent District 59B in the Minnesota House of Representatives. You also have Yemi Faleti, Adewumi Kuforeji, Paul Akinjo, April Ademiluyi, Ngozi Akubwike, and Benjamin Osemenam, all of them vying for different offices in the United States. We have joining us now Dr. Nelson Aluya. He's a chairman, Association of Nigerian Physicians in the Americas, and is also president, Nigerian America Public Affairs Committee. He joins us from New Jersey. Esther Agbaje is also joining us from Minnesota. She is seeking to represent District 59B in the Minnesota House of Representatives. Thank you both for joining me today. This is a pretty interesting day, I think, for Nigerians in diaspora and for Nigerians here, knowing that you're also vying for office. It's first time for you, Esther. Why are you running for office?
Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. Yeah, I mean, for me, running for office was really just kind of a culmination of the types of public service I've done, and also just seeing that we needed to have decision makers at the table that really understood the struggles of working people, particularly working families, students who have recently graduated, dealing with student debt, and particularly in the housing crisis. Here in Minnesota, even before the pandemic started, we had a housing crisis, and our answer to people, if they didn't have enough money for a place to live, was they had to be out on the street. So that was something that in my volunteer work, I've been advising tenants who are facing eviction, and that's something that I look forward to working on in the State House should I be elected today.
But I go to Dr. Nelson Aluya now, who's been behind the scenes of U.S. politics for a pretty long time in the U.S. Talk to us then, Dr. Nelson, about how important it is to have the Nigerian diaspora participate actively in U.S. politics.
Well, thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure to be on Channel's television. Nigerians in diaspora, especially here in the United States, constitute, objectively and documented about 440,000 of us, and we're spread across the whole country. And I'm sure you all have read and heard all the exceptional exploits that Nigerians are doing here in this country in individual professions. So obviously, politics is one way they need to get into to begin to effect change that would not just influence what's happening in the community in the United States, like every other community, the Chinese, the Indians, and the Koreans do, but we will begin to form a formidable power here in the United States. So no doubt, politics is one way for us to get involved in. So that we can, effect the change in our community and hopefully bring positive change with policies that affect Nigeria and the African continent as well.
Esther, I understand you're a greenhorn in politics. You're just joining. You did beat a Democrat, to take this place to run for this position. Was it challenging for you?
Definitely. I think starting in the political arena is always a daunting challenge, and then deciding to take on someone within your own party who has been there for a number of years is also a challenge. But one of the things that I think resonated really well is as I was talking to members of the community, as much as we were appreciative of the work of the incumbent, and I hope to continue some of those things, there was real energy and real interest in having some fresh perspective and some fresh ideas on many of the issues that we all care about for working families.
Now, to both of you, and this is the most part that people don't understand, how important local politics influences decisions at the federal level. Dr. Nelson, talk to us about that. Esther, you're next.
Well, it's a common saying that every politics is local, and I say every successful politics is even more local. From the councilor level to, the mayors and the state governors and all that, they carry out policies that directly affect the day-to-day lives of individuals here in the individual states. And that's why it's so important that people get engaged in politics. And, the same thing we advise back home as well. Often, as member of NAPAC and all the things that we've done, that's the Nigerian American Public Affairs Committee, where we bring the politics, to the people on the local level so that each individual Nigerians should know who their local council representative is, who their mayor is, and who their governor is, and engage each and every one of them at that level, so that they begin to effect and influence policies that affect them and they affect the community as a whole. So it's imperative that local politics they get engaged, and that's what we're doing right now. And NAPAC has done a tremendous amount of work under my leadership, pulling this together, where we put a coalition of Nigerian Americans who are running for office. You have Miss Esther here, who's an amazing young lady who's running for office right now, and the other names you called, Oye Wola Olowa Owolewa, Yinka Foleti, Yemi Farousi, and everybody else, and a few other ones who would run as well. Gabe Okoye, who ran earlier on in the year for Senate in Georgia, and all that. So it's important that we get engaged.
Yeah, and Esther, you're pretty young, for politics. Even if you were here in Nigeria, just 35 years old, and you're taking on the big guns. I'm sure you have a long road ahead of you still. You intend to remain in American politics for a pretty long time?
We'll see what happens. I see this as an opportunity really to, serve my community from a different vantage point. And, my goal really is to make sure that we bring about some really strong positive changes on the areas of housing and environmental justice, and, criminal justice reform, making sure that people who are formerly incarcerated have the right to vote again. And so those are the types of things that I hope to bring about in my tenure. But, after that, we'll see what happens. Maybe we'll go back to the private sector or nonprofits, or maybe we'll still stay on the political train. But I can't predict anything right now.
Well, wishing you the best of luck, Esther. Hoping, everything goes well for you. Dr. Nelson Aluya, a pleasure speaking with you. Also, keep up the good work, both of you. We're proud of you here in Nigeria, and we'll see how this election goes.
Great. Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Thank you very much.